My name is Eleanor Grant, and at 63 years old, I've lived long enough to believe I had seen every flavor of family foolishness. I was wrong. My husband, Thomas, passed away nearly 10 years ago, and since then I've maintained a cordial but cautious relationship with his side of the family. We were never close, but we kept things polite. Christmas dinners, birthday phone calls, the occasional reluctant weekend get-together. My life now is quiet, simple, and, until recently, predictable. I teach part-time at the community center, mostly financial literacy for adults who never had the chance to learn earlier in life. I walk my dog, Mabel, every morning, and I drive an old but reliable blue sedan I've had for years. So imagine my surprise when, on one perfectly ordinary Tuesday morning, I received a phone call from the dealership in town, congratulating me on my new vehicle purchase. I thought it was a scam. I nearly hung up. But the man on the phone read my full name, my address, even my insurance provider. And when I told him I had bought no such vehicle, he said, "Ma'am, you might want to speak with the two individuals who signed the sales agreement on your behalf. They said you were their mother. My husband and I never had children, only in-laws. And two of them, my late husband's brother's adult children, had a habit of behaving as if the world existed exclusively to serve their wants." I felt a cold shiver up my back. Something was wrong. Something calculated. Something foolish. The man gave me the details: a brand new SUV, financed with my name, my credit, my address, and, apparently, my insurance policy. At that moment I didn't yet understand how deep their arrogance ran, or how much trouble they had created for themselves. I only knew one thing. This wasn't a mistake. This was entitlement. And entitlement always comes with a price. That night, as Mabel slept curled at my feet, I stared at the ceiling and whispered to myself, what exactly have they done? And more importantly, what did they think I was going to do about it? I had no answer yet, but I was determined to find out. The next morning, I drove to the dealership. The salesman recognized me instantly. "Mrs. Grant. I'm so relieved you came in. I've been trying to verify part of the paperwork." He led me to his desk, pulled up the file, and turned his screen to me. There it was. My full legal name. My address. My insurance information. My signature. Except it wasn't my signature. Someone had attempted to imitate it. Poorly, I might add. It looked like a bored teenager trying cursive for the first time. Then the salesman clicked on the security camera footage attached to the file. And my jaw dropped. There stood Marcus and Lily, my nephew and niece-in-law. Marcus, 32, chronically unemployed except for bursts of entrepreneurial schemes. Lily, 28, fond of describing herself as a manifestation coach, despite rarely manifesting anything except overdraft fees. They were laughing, smiling, acting like they owned the world. "Don't worry," Marcus said on the recording as he handed over the fake signature page. "Aunt Eleanor is basically our second mom. She said she'd help us out." I nearly choked. I'd never said any such thing. But then something else appeared on the screen. The salesman pulled up the signed financing forms from the credit company. "Who provided the insurance policy?" I asked, a sinking feeling growing in my stomach. He clicked one more page. My existing auto insurance. My name. My policy. My coverage. "You own the insurance, Mrs. Grant," he said. "Which means the vehicle is legally tied to your liability coverage." I leaned back, feeling a simmer of anger rise. Not fiery rage, but that cold, steady anger that older women know very well. The kind that comes from experience. The kind that precedes action. I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel tighter than I meant to. They had forged my signature, taken out financing under my name, placed themselves under my insurance policy, meaning any accident, any wrongdoing, any reckless behavior, I would be financially responsible. It wasn't just betrayal. It was identity fraud. And they thought they could get away with it because I was nice Aunt Eleanor. But the thing about being 63 is that you stop performing politeness for people who mistake it for weakness. They wanted to use my name. They forgot that names come with power and consequences. I took a deep breath, opened my laptop and whispered, "Let's see just how deep this goes." To understand how Marcus and Lily ended up forging my name on a vehicle purchase, you need to know a little history. My late husband, Thomas, was the eldest son of 3. His youngest brother, Warren, was a man who lived his entire adult life believing he had been cheated out of something. Attention, inheritance, recognition, you name it. Warren married a woman named Denise, who shared his particular gift of holding lifelong grudges. Thomas and I worked hard, lived within our means, and built a life based on modest stability. Warren and Denise did the opposite. They jumped from job to job, blamed everyone else when their plans failed, and taught their children to expect others to fix their problems. When Thomas died, I kept connections with the family out of respect, but it was always surface level. I'd send birthday cards, exchange holiday gifts, host dinner once every few years. But there was always a distance, an unspoken awareness that Warren's family viewed us as the responsible ones, the ones who would swoop in when they made a mess. Marcus grew up hearing that his uncle Thomas owed their family help because he was the successful brother. And when Thomas died, the unspoken expectation shifted to me. They never said it directly, but I saw it in their eyes every time they hinted, "You must be doing well," or "We could really use a little support right now." I always kept boundaries. Clear, firm, polite. But entitlement doesn't respect boundaries. Especially when the entitled believe they're justified. Marcus and Lily wanted that SUV. According to the dealership footage, they told the salesman it was for business expansion. The same business Marcus had started and abandoned 3 times in 5 years. The same business that had cost them thousands in debt and 2 maxed-out credit cards. But what pushed them to forge my signature, I later learned, was even more foolish. They had terrible credit. And not the average kind of bad credit, the kind of credit where banks stop sending rejection letters because they assume you already know. So in their minds, using my name was borrowing, and I was family, and I wouldn't mind. They truly believed they were entitled to my good standing, my reputation, my financial stability. I closed my journal that night and whispered, "They have no idea what they've walked into." Because unlike them, I know how systems work. And I know how truth works. And I document everything. I started with the dealership. Then the financing bank. Then the insurance company. Every department. Every email. Every phone call. Every document request. I gathered everything. First, the timestamps. Then the forged signatures. Then the camera footage. Then the recorded phone verification attempt. The dealership had tried to call me the day of the purchase. Marcus answered my phone. Apparently he had taken my phone without my noticing during a family gathering 2 days prior, and impersonated me. He even tried to mimic my deeper voice, poorly. I asked the dealership for the audio file. They complied. I saved it. Next, I contacted my insurance provider. The SUV had been added to my policy using my online account. The IP address traced directly to Marcus and Lily's apartment complex. And here's where things became very interesting. Because of how they added the SUV, I had full authority over the policy. Every vehicle, every driver, every coverage, and most importantly, I had the legal right to remove the SUV from coverage without notifying them. But I didn't do it. Not yet. Instead, I asked for a detailed report of all activity tied to my account. I wanted a complete timeline. Every login. Every change. Every request. When the report arrived, it was exactly what I needed. Lily had logged in not once, but 4 times, trying to adjust coverage, attempting to raise liability limits, probably to hide potential risk. I printed all of it. I made a binder. Color-coded tabs. Chronological order. I am a 63-year-old woman. Paperwork is my battlefield. But the real turning point came from the credit company. When I informed them the application was fraudulent, the representative asked if I wanted to open an identity theft case. Yes, I said calmly. I would. She then explained that the moment the case was opened, the dealership would be notified, the loan would freeze, and the vehicle would be flagged. Do you want the vehicle repossessed? She asked. I paused. Not yet, I thought. Not until they learn the lesson. For now, I needed them to keep driving it. Because the next step required them to dig the hole deeper. And dig it they would. The truth arrived in the form of a single phone call. From Marcus. Aunt Eleanor, he said, panting. We need to talk. I hadn't spoken to him in months. I stayed silent. So, funny thing, he continued. There seems to be some confusion with the car. Confusion, I repeated in my head. A fascinating word for felony-level fraud. Oh, I said softly. What kind of confusion? He hesitated. Well, the loan company said something about identity verification. And the insurance, something about policy authorization. Then he dropped the real reason he called. The dealership said there might be an issue with ownership. Ownership. They had conveniently forgotten who actually owned the insurance policy, and therefore who held liability power. When I didn't respond immediately, he rushed to fill the silence. Look, we were going to tell you. It was just, we needed the car fast. For work. And we figured it would be okay. We're family. There it was. The justification. The entitlement. The casual explanation for a crime. I took a slow breath. Marcus, why would you think it's acceptable to use my name without my permission? He sputtered. We didn't think you'd mind. And forging my signature? Silence. And answering my phone pretending to be me? More silence. And illegally adding a vehicle to my insurance policy? A long, shaky breath. Aunt Eleanor, we just need the car. Please don't be mad. Mad? I said gently. No. Marcus. I'm concerned. What do you mean? I let a pause hang, heavy and deliberate. Because when someone commits identity fraud, they usually understand the consequences. He inhaled sharply. Consequences. I didn't answer. Because the next move wasn't a conversation. It was a reveal. And I intended to do it face to face. I arranged a meeting at my home. Neutral ground. Calm environment. Marcus and Lily arrived looking nervous. Good. I brewed tea. Set out biscuits. The ritual of civility before justice. Then I placed the binder on the table. A thick, heavy binder. Marcus frowned. What's that? Documentation, I said. Everything you've done in the past 3 weeks. Lily shifted in her seat. We didn't do anything wrong. I opened the first tab. Page 1, I said, the forged signature on the financing application. I turned the page. Page 2, footage of you both at the dealership. Next page. Page 3, audio of the verification call where Marcus pretended to be me. I clicked play. His face drained of color. Then I slid out the insurance login report. And here is the record showing 4 unauthorized logins from your apartment's IP address. Lily's mouth opened, then closed. I looked at them both. Calm. Steady. You committed identity theft. Insurance fraud. Forgery. And you placed me at legal risk for any accident or crime involving the vehicle you acquired. Marcus swallowed hard. We didn't think it was that serious. And that, I said softly, is the problem. Lily wiped her hands nervously. So, what happens now? I folded my hands on the table. You're going to return the vehicle to the dealership today. Marcus's voice cracked. But we need it. I shook my head. You needed integrity more. And if we don't? He asked quietly. Then the identity theft case proceeds, I said. The loan will freeze. The dealership will repossess the vehicle. And law enforcement will complete their report. They stared at me, stunned. Then I added the final note. And I have already removed the SUV from my insurance policy. Lily gasped. Marcus went pale. That means, I continued, if you drive it again, even once, you will be operating an uninsured vehicle under fraudulent registration. I let that sink in. They didn't argue after that. They couldn't. Because they knew the truth. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I didn't punish. I simply presented reality. And reality was enough. Marcus and Lily returned the SUV that same afternoon. The dealership escalated the fraud claim, but once I confirmed I preferred a civil resolution, they allowed the vehicle to be taken back without criminal charges, as long as the loan was voided and the dealership absorbed the loss. The financing bank closed the case. My credit history remained untouched. My insurance provider restored my policy to its original form. But actions have ripples. Warren and Denise called me 2 days later in a fury. How dare you embarrass our children? Warren snapped. Your children committed identity fraud, I said calmly. I simply corrected it. They needed help. Denise cried. You should have just let them keep the car. I am not responsible, I said quietly, for raising the adults you failed to teach boundaries. There was a long pause. A stunned silence. And then, for the first time in 20 years, Warren hung up on me. As for Marcus and Lily, they avoided me entirely. But word spread quickly among the extended family. Not in a dramatic, gossipy way. Just the simple truth. And once truth is spoken plainly, people behave differently. They treated me with respect. Genuine respect. Because they finally understood something. Quiet women are not weak. Calm women are not passive. And older women have long memories. And excellent documentation habits. Some weeks later, I took Mabel for a long morning walk, the sun warm on my back, the world restored to a gentle rhythm. I thought about Marcus and Lily, not with bitterness, but with clarity. They weren't evil. They were entitled. And entitlement is a kind of blindness, a shield against accountability. But accountability came, not because I sought revenge, but because I sought truth. That's the thing about ethical revenge. You don't destroy people. You simply stop protecting them from the consequences of their own choices. In the end, the SUV was never the issue. The issue was respect, boundaries, integrity. And they learned, in a way they will never forget, that using someone's name without permission is a dangerous gamble. Especially when the person whose name you borrow knows exactly how systems work. As I sipped my tea that evening, I felt no anger. Only peace. Justice doesn't always look like punishment. Sometimes it looks like clarity. And to you listening now, I'll leave you with this. Document everything. Protect your name. And never be afraid to stand calmly in the truth, even when others expect your silence. If you'd like more stories like this, of quiet justice, ethical revenge, and hard-earned wisdom, let me know. I have many more to tell.